Hi there, I'm Andrew Carros, Chief Operating Officer at Engel Volkers Vancouver, and this is On Top of the Market. Today on Top of the Market, we had the pleasure of having Dawn Maddux on. Dawn Maddux not only operates Engel Volkers Western Frontier in Montana, but she's also one of Montana's top real estate advisors. We spoke about pretty much everything, Engel Volkers, upcoming events that we have, COVID, you name it. And I absolutely just love Dawn, and I love her insight. And I hope you enjoy listening to her as well. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. I'm super excited to have Dawn Maddux with me. Dawn Maddux is one of the top real estate advisors in all of Montana, and she also operates Engel Volkers Western Frontier, which is a collection of 8 offices, I believe, or 7, 8, 10. How many do you have now, Dawn?
Actually, we're at 9.
9. Holy moly. That's just mind-boggling to me, but congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Somebody I've met over the years through Engel Volkers. We've been both lucky enough to be part of private office. We're both licensed partners, and just always gotten along every time we've ever met each other. And so thank you for coming on our podcast. This is the first time that we're doing kind of a remote, getting it from somebody else somewhere else, and trying to do it over Zoom, which is super fun. And so your podcast is called Engel Volkers Talks. We're called On Top of the Market. And so this is Engel Volkers Talks about being on top of the market, maybe. I do a segment quite often that's called 10 Questions With. So I would like to do 10 questions with Dawn Maddux, and then I would like to give you the opportunity to ask me any questions you'd like as well, and hopefully people find it interesting and we can move on from there. So
yeah, that sounds perfect.
Can you start by sharing with all the people here in British Columbia what it's like to live in Montana?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you mean like compared to somewhere else?
I just mean generally, like what's the feel? What's the vibe of Montana?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot like BC, by the way.
I know, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, actually, I think it's very, very similar. It is, we're known as Big Sky Country. Beautiful, big, wide open blue skies in the spring and summer, of course. Missoula, where our kind of headquarters office is, we have some inversion sometimes, so we don't have the blue skies all winter, but wide open spaces. We have rivers, lakes, trails, wildlife, lots of trees, ponderosa pines. Like, it's just a really lovely, lovely place. My favorite seasons are spring, summer, and fall. The winters are beautiful until, right about January 2nd. Then I'm like, okay, I'm over it.
A little cold.
Yeah, it's a little cold. Then they last a while too. So unfortunately, they can go for a while. But I feel like as long as you're good to go on vacation in like maybe February or March, then it's perfect. So yeah, I love it here.
One thing, ponderosa pine, I read, is actually the tree, official tree of Montana, I believe. Am I correct? Yeah, see, done my research, right? I also know it's called the Big Sky Country, the Treasure State, and the Land of Shining Mountains.
Now, I did not know that. You just taught me something
and
new.
The
land of
last
shining
best
mountains.
place. The land of best place. Last best place. I thought that was a pretty cool one, too. We like to call British Columbia God's country. I think they sound almost exactly the same. So I have apart from the big city of Vancouver, which is, a little bit different, a little bit more metropolitan, I suppose. I think that Montana sounds exactly like BC. And I'm going to kind of put myself on the spot here, but I actually didn't know that Montana bordered BC. How silly is that? Did you know that?
I did. You didn't know that?
Yeah. I didn't know that. I always thought it was right underneath Alberta and Saskatchewan, and then I looked at the map, and we actually connect at the top side of British Columbia. So I feel like my geography teachers let me down when I was a kid, I suppose, but it's pretty amazing landscape.
Yeah, and I think I shared with you before, I actually have family in Vancouver. My grandparents lived there. My mom grew up in Vancouver, and I grew up in Eastern Washington, which also borders Osoyoos.
Osoyoos, yeah.
And we share Osoyoos Lake, Washington Washington and BC share Osuyas Lake. So yeah.
I don't actually remember you telling me that, to be perfectly honest, but that's pretty awesome.
Oh, maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe I
So why have you not come visited me? Yeah. Why aren't you been up here other than COVID, obviously, in the last year?
Other than COVID, yeah, I haven't been there in a long time. I do still have some relatives there, but I haven't been there in a long time. It's such a beautiful city. I used to love Vancouver when I lived in Eastern Washington, or no, I'm sorry, when I lived in Seattle. I went to Vancouver pretty frequently. I had a boyfriend there once.
Oh yeah, is that right? Oh, Canadian boyfriend? we won't get into that. That's not one of my questions on my 10 questions.
Okay, sorry, we digress.
Yeah, we digress. Exactly. Can you share with me? I'm super interested personally. I read a lot about you, and as part of our network, I've really had a pleasure of meeting you over the time. Every time we get together, we have a good laugh and so on and so forth. But I would love to know your history before real estate. I don't think I've ever asked you that. I don't really know when you came into it. I did a little pre-reading before the podcast to kind of get an idea. But what got you into real estate?
I'm trying to think of what year that would have been. So I've been in real estate for 11 years. I had a marketing company before that. And so my background was marketing. And I was in radio sales for a number of years and then kind of branched off and started my own marketing company. So, when we had our recession, I was a single mom at that time. And of course, one place that people cut back budgets is their marketing budget. So just kind of knowing that was maybe on the horizon, I thought, man, I've got to do something else. I feel like I had referred people to maybe realtors before and they wouldn't follow up or they didn't hear back. And I just thought, gosh, I just felt like I was, and honestly, I kind of looked at marketing that other brokerages or realtors did. And I just thought, I think I can just do that a little bit differently, just from a marketing perspective. And so I did. So I jumped in, I got my license. We always laugh that our marketing director now, Katie, is still with me. She's been with me for about 15 years. So she was with me in the marketing company. And I remember I came in and said, I came in one day and said, I think I'm going to get my real estate license and go down that path. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's a horrible idea. So I always tease her about that because it obviously worked out to be a pretty good decision. So I think having that marketing background honestly has been such a huge part of my success because it just pairs so nicely with real estate. So it's been a lot of fun. And honestly, my only regret is that I didn't do it sooner. It's such a great industry.
That's a really interesting point, like not doing something sooner. But I actually think that real estate's one of these great professions that if you can bring some experience or some knowledge that you have from being successful somewhere else, you can really translate it into real estate as long as you understand the client experience and taking care of people and you know your focus. But you do need a little bit of something, a little bit of life experience in order to, I think, to really do it really well, or you need to get in the business and go work for somebody else. But I noticed here that you were newcomer of the year when you got into real estate in Montana. Is that correct?
I was.
Like, how do you win an award like that? That's pretty spectacular. That's a hard thing to do.
You're voted on by that. That's through like our association. So ours here is the Missoula Organization of Realtors. So you're voted on by your peers. So that was really an honor. I started at Windermere, and that was a great company, and I learned a lot there. That was awesome. And so newcomer of the year, my first year. More exciting to me was my second year. I was the top producer in our MLS. So that was in
year two.
Yeah, year two, and that was. I'm so horrible at this. I'm trying to think of what year that would have been. So that would have been 2010, right? Yeah, 2010. And so the market was still recovering, but I almost think in many ways it was kind of a good thing or a blessing that I started during the recession. And I remember everybody was bailing out of real estate. I think we went from 800 to 400 members in our MLS in that time. And I remember people saying, why are you getting into real estate now? Everybody is getting out, the market's tanked. And my thought process was, I get that, but what a great time to learn, like that'll give me time to really get my feet under me because everything cycles, the market will come back.
Of course.
And hopefully by that time I'll have enough experience to really kind of be on top of the game. So I just treated it like any other job. I came in every day from 9 to 5. And then of course, once you get busy, it's no longer 9 to 5. It's It's a lot more.
24/7.
Exactly,
It's a
yeah.
lifestyle is what it is.
Yeah.
My father, when I got into the business, he said to me, okay, I need you here Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and then you need to be available any other time of the day.
And that's about
I
it,
was
right?
like, okay.
But
I was young
look
enough that it was
how
okay.
that turned out for you. I mean, that's the thing. I think a lot of people get into real estate kind of thinking it's going to be a fun hobby and they'll have so much freedom, and they can dictate their own schedule, and they don't realize, like, I mean, I tell our new recruits, you know, this is the most money that I've made, but it's also the hardest I've ever worked. Like, you have to be ready for what's ahead. And then now I'm at a point, as I'm sure you, or actually your position changed, right? You're not selling anymore?
Yeah, I'm not this last, I guess it's been about a year and a half. I kind of just focused on running the business. And so that was a choice of my own that I decided to make just for health reasons and whatnot. And
that's a full-time job.
Burnt
right?
out.
That's,
that's
good for the brokerage. So, I mean, that's a full-time job.
It kind of leads me to actually, you know, I want to point out something else. You know, you brought up that you were second year, you were like top of the MLS in your second year. I can't even fathom that. Like, I started as a new realtor, and I was lucky enough and like blessed enough to be my dad's assistant for my first few years, to learn the ropes and to get introduced into the business. I don't understand how somebody, and I know a couple other people who have done this. Jeff Fitzpatrick from our office, I believe, was a rookie of the year with our board at one time. And I don't get how you can just get into the business and be that good that quickly. Like, what was the secret to that? What do you think you did?
The marketing, but I worked so hard. I mean, I worked so hard. You know, I just every day I worked really hard. And then marketing is such a big piece of that. And I've told this story before, but I remember that we went to kind of in that time frame, I met my husband, and so we were dating, and we had gone to a social event. And I remember one of his partners said, "Oh my gosh, like, you're doing so well. I see you everywhere. Like, you're just killing it in the real estate." And I literally had not made a single penny. You know, perception is reality, marketing is key. And that's kind of really what I think really got me going. And then, like I said, I just didn't stop. I just worked.
Investing in your business too. That's a thing some people don't realize, is how expensive the business can be to invest yourself fully into it, right? There's a lot of things that you have to do. So that, I mean, that's the key. You went from
It's an expensive business.
Oh, not even just, I mean, not just the marketing and all that sort of stuff, but just like, you know, what you need to do to keep yourself operational at all times, right? I mean, licensing alone, I don't know about in Montana, but up here it's quite expensive to be licensed and to maintain your license and pay your monthly dues and all that sort of stuff. So you need to be consistent, or you're going to be quickly out of the business, is what basically we learned when you get into it really new. But I train a lot of new people that come into the business, and I always tell them, like, your expectation, it shouldn't be your first 6 months to a year should not be an expectation that you're going to just kill it. But obviously you managed to, and there's other people who do as well. And so I'm always curious to know what the trick is. And so that's why I asked you the question. What can I share with other people in my office, right?
Another broker I remember that had success, that worked at Windermere at that time, I remember him telling me, like, I just kind of set my sights on, I know if I have one closing a week, then I'm doing well. And so I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I hope I can have one closing a week at some point. And do you remember when you first started, like, every single deal, you kind of sit down and figure out, you know, what you're going to make so you can finally get caught up on your bills?
Yeah, well, exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's tough, and sometimes you're doing really, really well, but you're just trying to catch up, right? When you're new in the business and you're spending all this money, and you got to also remember, when that money comes in, you got to put some back out in order to promote yourself that much, you know, more, and never get your foot off the gas. That's the other thing. Like, people get tired and they're like, I need a break. But when you're hot, you got to keep rolling with it, because that, you know, business leads to business, right? It's just the next thing comes up. And so you went from Windermere, and then you went to Sotheby's. Correct? You were a Sotheby's agent at one time?
Actually, I started Maddux Real Estate Group. I had that for 1 year. I left Windermere, I was talking to Sotheby's and started Maddux Real Estate Group, bought my building downtown, had Maddux Real Estate Group for 1 year, which is about how long it took for Sotheby's to get it together and approve the market. And so then I sold Maddux Real Estate Group to the Sotheby's franchise that's here.
Right. Yeah. And so we have a similar story in that sense. We went from, I started at a company called McDonald Realty. We went to Sotheby's, and then we ended up joining Engel and Volkers. And so that leads me to my next question. Like, what drew you to this brand? Like, what drew you to Engel and Volkers? And what is it that kind of makes it so unique to you and to your network? And how does it work in Montana? Like, what do people love about Engel and Volkers in Montana?
Yeah, I'm a huge believer that, I'm a huge believer in manifestation and intention and the universe. And so I kind of believe the universe puts things in your path, and if you're paying attention and pursue those paths, then you'll have success. So what had happened is, an interesting story. Sotheby's had put out a marketing piece that showed where people were going online worldwide to find luxury real estate companies. So they commissioned the report. So of course they were number one on the graph. Right below them was Engel and Volkers. And I remember talking to an associate and saying, who is Engel and Volkers? Like, I've never even heard of them. At that time I had Shelter Island listed. So I was like, how is this one of my main competitors out there? And I've never even heard of them. So Googled them, saw that Anthony Hitt was running the company. I was familiar with him just because he was a big name in Sotheby's. He was the top producer in the world for Sotheby's at one time. So saw that Paul Benson had joined, knew him from Sotheby's. And thought, interesting, kind of put it in the back of my brain. Our neighbor and good friends that we go back in the days when we had date nights before the pandemic, every Thursday night we would go out for dinner and drinks. And he said, hey, I want to talk to you. My cousin just went to work for this really cool boutique European brokerage. And, I think that you should connect with him. And I was like, oh, really? What company is that? And he said, Engel and Volkers. I was like, wow, that's so weird. I literally just Googled them. So kind of again, and I said at that time, I was like, I'm trying to work out, my contract had just ended. I was on a 3-year contract with Sotheby's. And I said that my contract has just ended. Let me, I'm not ready to do anything. I'm really trying to work out the, terms of my next journey here. And I'm trying to work it out with Sotheby's. So not yet, but thank you. And then I was driving up to our lake house, and at that time, Pollyanna Snyder, who you know from Private Office, and she's one of the licensed partners in Bozeman and Billings, I think a couple other markets now. She had this marina listed in Lakeside. And so I'm driving to my lake house, and I look, and there's a huge banner that says Engel and Volkers. I was like, oh my God, I get it. I get it. So
the universe had spoken.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and in that time, I mean, as you know how those things go. Like, I tried really hard to kind of work things out where I was at, and it just wasn't. This just kept drawing me. Like, everything I was trying to accomplish there was being offered tenfold here. And I called Jake Steppen one day and said, okay, I'm ready. Send me the contract. And the rest is history. I remember calling Paul Benson, and he was like, Dawn, everything they told you that they were going to do for you, they will do for you. I mean, you're going to be so impressed with the level of service. And that absolutely is true. Still true today.
Yeah, still true today. It's funny, the thing I love most about Engel and Volkers compared to previous places that I've worked is that you just mentioned a whole bunch of different names. They're all very important people at the company and very influential people in the company, and I know them all.
And
I know them
call
well.
them or text them.
Yeah, I could call them anytime. Exactly.
Yeah.
I sell that all the time. The connections that this company makes and the way they make relationships, but also the type of people that they go after. When we joined Engel and Volkers, they came to us. They said, we need to talk to you. And we kind of did the same thing. We had sort of heard about this company, but it wasn't really anywhere on the map in Canada. Scott and Jim were just starting out with it in Victoria. And they kind of were very patient with us. They just gave us the information. They weren't pushy. They said, we think that you're the right people in Vancouver for this, and we would like you to do it. And we took that as a huge compliment. But we weren't really sure we wanted to. We were doing quite well. We had a really bustling little 35-person office, and life was simple, and we couldn't say no. We just couldn't say no, and we're happy we didn't, because it's this amazing network of people with really, really great backgrounds and the ability to do what we're doing right now and feel personable. It's not like we're strangers, Dawn. I mean, you and I have talked many, many times before in different events, and I'm so sad that we're not able to do this year. Yeah. Okay. We might need to explain this a little bit. We might need to explain that a little bit. That could come across as a little bit inappropriate in the sense of,
Yeah, sorry.
I just mentioned that we don't get to see each other that often, but we do usually come see each other at Exchange, which is our conference that Engel Volkers puts together. They're calling it EVX now. And I was a speaker at Exchange back in 2018, was it? You said it was your first year that you were at Exchange, correct? So that was when we met you?
Was it 17 or 18? I think it was 18. I think it was
Yeah.
18. And you were, that's the year that you won the cup.
We
So-
won the cup, and I think that's why they were asking me to speak. But I'll tell the story because we kind of need to tell the story now that we've gotten into it a little bit here, and we don't want people to listen and go, "Oh my God, why did Dawn see Andrew's underwear?" Which is a little bit of an interesting conversation. But yeah, I was geared to speak. I was incredibly nervous. I was going to go up on stage with Anthony after he did his grand opening in Seattle. We were in Seattle, and I'm sitting at the back room, and I'm actually with Sven Odia, and the two of us are kind of just chatting, and he was giving me, it was funny because Sven is our CEO, for anybody who's listening in Germany. He's a wonderful person, and him and I were just chatting, and he was teasing me about how I was speaking before him, which he thought was pretty funny, and I was really nervous, and I went and sat down in my seat, and I reached under my chair to get my water, and my pants split from literally my belt at the top to my knee, and I'm just mortified, and I got up, and I go back to see Jill Da Silva, who was behind me, and I'm like, "Jill," and she's like, "Oh my God, Andrew, oh my God, what are we gonna do?" I jokingly looked at Sven and said, "I need your pants." He kind of laughed at me, and he's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I didn't know what to do, but I had all of about 2 minutes to make a decision, so I just got to the very bottom of the stage, and as soon as Anthony called me up, I jumped up there as quickly as I could, thought nobody saw anything, and then I sat down and I looked in front of me, and the lady, there's a crowd from Montreal was sitting there, and they were just like mortified. They were holding their faces and they were pointing at me like making sure I knew. And I'm like, I know. And then poor Anthony was the only person who didn't know because he didn't get to see it. And so I had to let everybody in on our secret. But the storyline there was that the theme of that event was "This Is Us." And so because I was the first speaker and it was this big embarrassing moment and we got through it quite well, and everybody, like, I sat down, and this is kind of like speaks to our network, I guess, is I sat down, I'm in front of about whatever it was, 800 people. And I'm never spoken in front of a big group of people before, so I was nervous enough as it was. And I looked out, and everybody's sort of snickering and laughing and all sorts of, but I saw all these faces I knew. Like I knew everybody. And so I felt like I was just kind of at home, and I was like, whatever. And so I stopped Anthony and said, "Listen, they're all laughing at me because I just ripped my pants and they all saw my, underwear as I came up the stage." And he's like, "Oh, do you wear pink underwear?" And everybody started yelling red from the crowd because I was wearing red boxers.
At least it was the Engel Volkers color. And at least
yeah,
you wear
so
underwear, because dear God, that would have been a disaster.
That would have been a disaster for the crowd. I think at the end of the day, what was the best out of that whole thing was that, people, A, supported me, B, how comfortable I felt in a room like that. And I think that's maybe a really good story to tell about the company and the brand, is that you can be in this professional environment, but we're all still human, and we don't have to worry about being anything but ourselves, and we can laugh at ourselves, and we don't take each other too seriously, but we do our job really, really, really well. So I was still able to get up there, still able to give the presentation. I slinked off the stage sideways, I think. Yeah, it was fun. And yeah, so there's the story about how Dawn Maddux saw my underwear, which is not nearly as inappropriate as it may have sounded if I didn't tell you. And I was on brand, which was really nice. That was just lucky, by the way, because there was definitely nothing. I had so many people during that conference, though, come up to me, and they were like, "Andrew, you did that on purpose." And I'm like, "No, I didn't."
Why would anyone do that on purpose?
Well, they thought because I was the first person going up on stage, and I ripped my pants, and it was "This Is Us" and all that other stuff. They thought that it was trying to just cool the crowd down, like try to make a point of the fact that we're all people, it's no big deal. We can laugh at this. And because it didn't seem like it bothered me all that much, I guess, but trust me, inside I was freaking out. Back of the room was Sven Odia looking at the CEO and asking him if I can borrow his pants. Trust me, that's a weird position to be in, but it was pretty fun. And a great thing. And
they should keep duct tape, because you could have probably duct taped, right?
We didn't have any time You know what? That would have been a great solution, an excellent solution. Thank you for, 3-4 years now later. It's the first time I've ever thought that I could have done something about it. We were in so much of a rush and it was literally Anthony was finishing his speech, and on the screen next to it, it said Andrew Carros up next, and I'll just never forget, like, kind of going, oh my God, what's going on? My favorite suit, and it busted out, But things happen for a reason, right? I mean. Yeah, well, it's how I met you, was there. I think we met for the first time there. I certainly got to meet a lot more people at that point and became pseudo famous thanks to it. And then, of course, what happened at that event is we won the EV Cup, which is this huge, huge deal for the network, and we were super excited. And you are nominated again this year. You were nominated last year, weren't you?
We were, yeah. That's just such an honor.
Yeah.
It's such an honor.
And so to be nominated twice. Yeah, and trust me, like, I watch what you guys are doing, and I know you as a person, and I know a lot of the people in your shops and stuff like that, and it's very well deserved. And so you have my vote if I had a vote, but I don't have a vote. But I have a really sneaking suspicion that this might be your year. So good luck.
Well, let's hope so. But if not, again, it's just an honor to have been. I don't know how they make those choices. Like, there's so many great license partners doing amazing things all over the world. I mean, ours is for the Americas, but I mean, I don't know how they even narrow down those choices. That would be really hard.
Well, they've got like 7 nominees this year, and I looked at all of them, and there's a couple I don't know too super well, but the people I do know, it's a hard choice. Like, there's a lot of really good people there, and that's our brand, though. Like, it's really hard for me to go down a list and go, like, where's the weak link? I don't see it, and that's one of the huge benefits that we have right now. Speaking of which, we're going to be doing, this is happening April 26th and 27th, correct? I think those are the dates. And 28th is the EVX. And here in Vancouver, we are in lockdown again here in Vancouver, unfortunately. COVID is not doing a great job in Vancouver suddenly. We've got our 3rd wave, I think it is. And so, we're trying to be careful. And so I'm trying to figure out some really like creative ways to kind of get together without getting together so that we can enjoy this event, because it's such a great event and I love the speakers and I want to make sure that all our advisors are sort of a part of it. But do you guys have any plans? Like, are you able to get together as a group at least, even though not in Vegas, but
we are. So
yeah,
they're limited. They're limited in how, I feel like our vaccines have been, like, I'm fully vaccinated. Matt, my assistant, is fully, most everyone at least has had their first shot. Our numbers are way down. We did spike, that. Remember when we very first talked and I was like, gosh, it's not here. Like, we don't have it here. And then it hit and holy smokes, like, it just went crazy. But here's one suggestion you might want to think about. What we did for our Christmas party is we, bought everybody gift boxes with champagne and like some truffles and some delicious cookies and or maybe scones or something that came in a beautiful box. We had them shipped to the office because they're alcohol, so we didn't want to mess with shipping them to everybody's houses and having nobody 21 or older there
of course.
sign for it. So we had them pick them up at the shops, at their local shops, and then we did a virtual party. So that was pretty cool because we all had champagne and toasted, and so that worked out pretty well. So this year, what we're doing is I think that the mandate is 100. You can have 100 people if they can socially distance, and that includes like some outside. You have to be like outside. So the Stockman Bank here in Missoula has a 6th floor and a huge patio.
Cool.
And so unfortunately we can't invite significant others this year, which we have done in the past for our own award ceremony, because we do our own. And so it just worked out well to kind of go on the coattails of the EVX and have our award ceremony right after the award ceremony for EVX, which I think is on Wednesday. Is that right?
It's the 2nd day, so whatever day of the week that is. It's the 27th.
Then Tuesday. Okay, yeah, Tuesday. So we're having it catered. So we have food and catering. We're doing champagne and I think maybe like some other types of drinks, but not a big drinking event. I mean, it's during the workday.
Yeah, it's early for us here on the Western Coast.
Yeah, that's right. Even earlier for you. So we're just doing champagne and then and catering it. And then, ironically, and this is what makes no sense about how these mandates work, you can't have a gathering of over 100 people without social distancing, but you can go to bars. So then what we've done is we've had all of, if any significant other that wants to participate is just going to meet us at a bar after our event.
Well, that's fantastic. Do it safely, but it sounds like you can. You know, the one thing I absolutely love about the United States of America is that, you know, you had a little bit of a bumpy ride there, you know, at the start of COVID in some areas and some cities. But when you put your mind to it and decide to get something done, you get her done. You know, in Canada, we did a really good job with COVID at the very beginning of it. And now we're at the stage where we need to get people vaccinated and we need to get people, you know, shots in arms. And it's taking forever for us to do that. And it's kind of frustrating. So like my mom, who's 70 something years old, is, you know, just getting her vaccine this week. You know, and so we need to get moving on that. So right now, unfortunately, we can't do any gatherings. We're not even allowed to have many people in our offices. There was talk of still keeping offices closed right now. And so it's kind of a bummer because we're such a social group and we just love being together. And we thought we were so close. We feel like we're so close, you know, but you know, it's nice to know that you guys will be having a good time and I'll just be on a screen by myself staring at you.
We'll FaceTime you.
Watching the party. Well,
Yeah.
FaceTime me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Bring us
Jack
into the
Gettles
party.
is-
That'd be a great idea.
Yeah, Jack Gettles is coming to our party, so we're excited to see him. And I think
That's
it'll
cool.
be fun. I mean, I don't think our entire team's not coming just because we're kind of spread out a bit.
Yeah.
They always come to the awards, and we do a big deal for our local awards.
Yeah.
And so typically they would come and bring their significant other, and we do a big food and, you know, and a big party, and it's a lot of fun. And you know, usually they stay then in Missoula. Missoula's kind of centrally located from our shop, so that's
Yeah,
worked out.
I've
but,
seen that.
But it'll be. So let me ask you this: in Canada, how did this work? Because in the United States, what happened is masks, even the vaccine to some degree, became very political. What about there? Like it became very. It's an election year, so it became very much like there were a lot of
Yeah, it was a stance.
yeah, like there were a lot of Trump, you know, lovers that just are not going to
Yeah.
get the vaccine and they're not going to go down and it's the flu. It's nothing more than the flu. I mean, it's been a
Yeah.
weird time for the United States, to be honest. It's been a really weird time.
Yeah, I mean, as an observer, I would suggest that yes, it has. It's been a weird time for us to watch what's going on and down there and seeing the divide. Like there's such a strong divide. We definitely did not have that up here. I mean, in Canada, it was all about compassion and just trying to be safe and trying to take care of things. And so we get daily announcements from our health services, and they come on the news and they tell us what's up and what's going on. But they're tired. I mean, it's tiring, and we need to sort of get past it. And what's happened is we're into this third wave because I guess of these variants that are happening all over the world are, I think, a lot more contagious from the sounds of it. And so, including our hockey team, the Vancouver Canucks, I think just got pummeled by COVID just recently, and 17 out of 22 of them are not able to play. So there's no hockey, which to a Canadian is a real downside. But more importantly, I talked to a member of the staff there, and he just said it's just crazy how quickly it spread, and you know, we just need to get shots in arms. I mean, that's what we're all aiming towards right now, is just getting shots in arms and trying to make sure that people get vaccinated. There's a little bit of a political side to it, of course, just like anywhere there would be. Some people are against masks and make a scene here and there and every once in a while, but nothing dramatic has happened
Not
at that
like here.
point.
Not like here,
Not
where
to
it was
the not to
such
the
a
extent.
divide. Mhm.
But you were dealing with so many other things. I think that boils out to so many other things that were happening with the election and with you know, the tragedy with George Floyd and Black Lives Matter and everything else that you guys were sort of like, talk about a collection of just like so many different
Negative things.
yeah, I don't even know how to explain it, but you know, so watching it, I mean, where it's like you're watching a reality show, you know, like it doesn't even seem real.
A horrible one that
A horrible one. And we know so many, like, I mean, as Canadians, you're our brothers and sisters down there in the United States. We, a lot of love and care, a lot of relatives, a lot of connections, a lot of everything. And so it's really hard to watch. But that's what I was saying before. Now I kind of feeling a little bit of a sense of pride for you guys right now, just watching the rollout of the vaccines and how the Biden administration's come in and really take in charge of the situation. Forget politics here. It's not about politics. It's about just making sure people aren't sick. You can be Republican, you can be Democratic. I don't care. Let's just make sure that people are getting the service and the vaccines so that we can all kind of get on. And in Vancouver, I think the biggest thing that we're dealing with right now, and I think Ontario's dealing with it as well, is that we don't have, businesses are having to shut down, and it's hard on small business, and it's hard on the people that are trying to, grow and do, like, our economy is just, who knows what's going to happen to some of these people, and that's the sad part of it, I think, more than anything. So they just actually closed all the restaurants again just last week in Vancouver.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bad. Yeah. It's the worst it's ever been. We have more cases now than we've ever had, and it's because it's ready. Now, we'll get through it because at least we know what's on the horizon. Like, we still know that what's happening, and they are trying to get the vaccine out, but we just don't have as much access to the stuff, I guess.
Andrew, is that the new strain? Is that the new strain that?
Yeah, I believe there's a few. I think there's a few different strains that are out there right now. But yeah, there's a little bit of everything. Let's just put it that way. We tried to open back up again the best that we could. People were very responsible, I think, in general. Most people follow guidelines. I don't think there's anybody to blame here. I think it's just a matter of kind of how it went. And, but when you start announcing that there's vaccines and stuff, people are going to be a little bit more anxious to get back to regular life, right? Like, get back to things. And I think we tried to do that. And unfortunately, we just are a little bit behind. So it's nice to hear you guys are doing well. But you also have, like in Montana, at least, you got a really spread out population, right? I mean, it's from the looks of it. I'm watching Yellowstone right now, so it's all prairies and ranches and everything else, right? And so you can socially distance so easy because that's all Montana is, right? Ranches.
Well, I mean, for the most part, but we did have, we did spike in numbers for sure. I mean, we did have a lot of people get sick and people die, and it was bad, and our businesses did shut down for a bit. But I think everything is pretty well open. I mean, there's still distancing. So in restaurants, there's maybe like every other booth is shut down. So it's
like that's smart.
Like it was in the very beginning. I was thinking this the other day. We went to Arizona, and it's the first time we've been anywhere since last March. In a year, I didn't go anywhere. And I was thinking, I'm probably always going to wear a mask now in airplanes and in the airport, just because now knowing what we know about how many droplets, and I mean, that's kind of gross, right?
100%.
I'm always worried about germs anyway. So for me, I'm just like, I think there's probably going to be some places I always wear a mask.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, culturally, the Asian community in Vancouver, we've got a big Asian community in Vancouver, and it was very common to see people wearing masks around town before this, and I never really understood what it was. I never realized that that's a courtesy, not the other way around. Like, you're doing it to protect others, and so if somebody's sick, then they should always be wearing a mask so that they're not passing it on to people. Like, now that we're fully aware of that, it's like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you wear a mask if you're not feeling well, or you have a cold, or you're trying to protect yourselves? And so, and on airplanes and buses, of course, I agree with you 100%. I think there's a lot of normal will come back, and there's a lot of things that are just never going to be the same ever again. And that's what happens when you have tipping points like this. And what we need to do is accept it and move forward. And, it kind of leads me into the thing, like, what do you think the biggest effect of this virus is going to be on real estate? Like, I can't even imagine in Montana what a changes it made to you. I mean, talk about a desirable place to be, but you must have people flowing in from all parts of the country, building your population, and, I would imagine, at least.
Yeah, we do. I mean, it's we had a record year last year. This year, honestly, is kind of on target to head the same direction. Part of what we're having here is we're really lacking inventory.
Yeah.
So even though we have all these people coming in, we're kind of limited in what we're selling. So we're seeing things get 10 offers, go for 100,000 over list price. I mean, it's kind of been crazy.
Yeah.
So that part has been a whole learning curve for us in terms of how to deal with buyers and how to make those offers accepted. And it's literally they're dropping every contingency and they're paying well over asking price. We went through a phase of everybody was writing escalation clauses, which I think is a slippery slope. I mean, so it just, things have been crazy. I am noticing now, we watch the MLS very closely, of course, and even myself, I was on 2 listing appointments today and had a new listing come up yesterday. And so we do have more inventory coming on. And I think that'll stabilize the market a bit. But honestly, I don't know that it'll ever be what it was before, because I think what the pandemic taught us is that we can work remotely for the most part. People have worked out a way to work remotely. So I think that when you can Zoom call and you can even our physicians here, we're doing like their patient calls over Zoom rather than in person, which saves a ton of time for everyone involved, right? I mean, the person's not waiting in a waiting room for an hour to get in. And I mean, I think it's changed. It's interesting that we got to see this in our lifetime and experience this in our lifetime. And although very tragic, I think there's always growth and opportunity that comes from tragedy. And so I think that some of the good things that are coming out of it is we just have learned that we can function a little bit differently, which has been hard for some of our markets. Like, our New York market is struggling. And that's tough.
Yeah. Well, their regulations and stuff were stricter than anybody's because of the sheer density of where they live. I mean, that's what we're talking about with Montana. I mean, lack of inventory makes sense because you just don't have the inventory, because you don't have the infrastructure, because you never had the people in the first place. Like to that extent, right? In Vancouver, we're seeing people moving out into the suburbs much more because they can work remotely. But we're also seeing the rise in recreational property, myself included. I bought a place in the Caribou, which is about 5 hours north of Vancouver. When I look at the Caribou and the style of the Caribou, and I watch, look at what Montana is, it's like I feel like I'm in Montana. Like, it's so similar: rolling hills, horses, beautiful lakes, fishing, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's really cool. I see you're wearing a jean jacket. I need to get myself a jean jacket now because I have a place in the Caribou, and I need to get a cowboy hat, and I'm going to go down that path. But people like myself who just kind of like have a different sort of view on what's important to them, and being able to escape and still work is really kind of an interesting sort of concept as well, right? Like, I can go up to the cabin and still do most of what I do here. I still need to be in person, and I don't really want to be going there to work. But the point is, I could if I wanted to. And so you see this shift on where people are buying, and very much every shift that we have here, from what I understand, kind of fits the sort of the map or the same geography that you have in Montana, so I can see why other states would be kind of flocking towards you guys, and wanting to buy there, but there needs to be something to buy, right?
That's right. Yep. And I think, for me, I've been fortunate because I've always kind of more serviced more the luxury sector of the market. And, some of those listings can sit on the market for 3-4 years. I mean, they can take a while to sell. And so I think I looked the other day and I'm down to like under 30 listings, and I haven't had under 60 since I started. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, at one time I had over 100 listings, and I'm literally down to like.
Can we take a step back here, Dawn, for a second? Because I just found that comment absolutely hilarious. Like, you personally have only 30 listings right now? Is that what you just said? Yeah. So when I sold real estate, more often, if I had more than 5, I was like, that was like huge. So I always tried to keep myself around 2 or 3 listings at a time. But the concept of having up to 60 listings, 100 listings, is just absolutely asinine to me. How do you even do that? How do you do that and run all these shops? That was one of my questions here. One of my 10 questions.
So remember that that especially with the higher end stuff, like, you don't show those every day. We require that people provide proof of funds so that we know that they're legitimate, and that we don't just allow looky-loos. So we go to all of our showings, but we make sure that the buyers are qualified. So you don't get showings every day on those.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've just, been really fortunate, and I've built a fantastic support team. So I don't have to do that all by myself. And I didn't even have besides Katie, who's been with me for a long time, I didn't have an assistant for a really long time. And then I kind of went through a couple that weren't weren't good fits. And then now I have Matt, which I know you've been corresponding with, and he's been awesome. So it's just so
shout out
important
to Matt.
Yeah, you just have to you have to find a good support team. I always say too, like I consider myself like a really excellent facilitator and marketer. I'm not an expert in anything. Like I facilitate, I market, and I look at ways to market, and that's, everything else I leave to the pros that are in those other fields.
Yeah, smart. You got to delegate, right? So, on top of that, you said you have. Did you say 9 locations right now? Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you say 9?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
We're opening our 9th right now. We're just in the process of construction in Helena, Montana.
Helena. I had Helena on my list.
I had.
Is it? I see. There you go. I didn't even learn that on Wikipedia when I tried to learn about you before I came onto the. I was reading the Wikipedia. That's how I knew about the Ponderosa tree.
We should try to when the pandemic is, when it's safe, you should bring your family and come to Montana. I mean, it's really, and over where Pollyanna's shops are too. I mean, it's just a beautiful state. It genuinely is a beautiful state. That would be fun. Your kids would have a lot of fun.
I did not. I admit I did not know much about Montana before I met you and Pollyanna and Brett and I've learned about it since then. And so when I first met Brett, we have something in common. His kid's a really star baseball player or a good baseball player, and my son, who's younger, was going through baseball, so he was really wonderful about kind of just giving me some hints and talking to me about baseball and supporting your kids and stuff like that. And that's what I love about this company, by the way, is like we don't get together and just talk real estate. We try to learn about one another and try to really make sure that we kind of understand each other personally. And I think that's what makes us all really good at what we do, as well as we're very professional when it comes to the job. But when, we're not overbearing, we're not intimidating, we're just here to help you, like really the client experience is the number one. Sorry, that was a little bit of an off sort of side of things, but
it's just so true.
Yeah. And so we, at the end of the day, I am definitely going to come down to Montana because I actually even looked at the roadmap to figure out exactly how I'm going to get there. And if I come down through Osoyoos and in through Washington, I think you go through Spokane and you can get really close to finding my way into Missoula.
Yeah,
is that
that's
correct?
Right. So Missoula, we're about 3 hours from Spokane. So that's pretty close.
And how close in proximity are these shops, though? Because I was looking at the map, and you are dead center of most of the shops that you have. But like, how far away is the shop furthest away from you?
So Whitefish is about 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
So that one's a ways, and that is up there. We have a ton of Canadian clients up in that region, and so that's a resort town. It's a beautiful town. There's Whitefish Lake. It's close to Flathead Lake. There's skiing there. I mean, that's a really beautiful resort town. And then we have a shop in Kalispell, which is close to Whitefish. We have one over in Columbia Falls. And then Polson, which is on kind of the southern end of Flathead Lake.
Right.
And then Missoula, Stevensville, which is on in the Bitterroot Valley. So it's south. And then Hamilton. So and that now we'll have Helena, and then next will be Great Falls. And then I think I'm done. I've been thinking about one other town, but I don't know. As I kind of look at their numbers, I don't know that.
How many people do you have in each one of these locations? Is it like typically how many advisors? Are they all little small shops, or are they? Do you have a lot of people? I was looking at your quite big, right?
So I think some of our, they all vary. To be honest, they all vary. I think that total. I think that we're at maybe just under 100.
Okay, yeah, we're both the same.
Our admin,
ironically,
our support staff.
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah, we're just around 100 or so, but in 3 locations, but all in Vancouver. I mean, we got Carros still downtown, and then in West Vancouver, so they're all within, half an hour drive of one another.
But you're not so
we have lots of other shops around us.
Yeah, that's the thing with Montana is we're just so spread out. So I remember when I was meeting with Jake and Jim, I was like, I mean, we have to, that's why we came up with Western Frontier. Like, I'm like, we can't label every single shop as its own thing. Like, we need to be kind of one big group because Montana's so large and so sparsely populated. Like we have to be able to hit some of these little towns and have shops in those towns.
Yeah,
So it's worked out well.
I pulled up a map just to find out where all your little shops were, and I think it's pretty neat actually to see kind of how they're all spread around, and it's pretty awesome. Do you use like a market center sort of an idea? Like is Missoula like where all the kind of insider stuff happens, or like marketing and whatnot, or does every office have their own sort of facilities?
Each office has their own admin.
Okay.
So their admin is their support person. We have one marketing director. And then we have one gal that's kind of in charge of the admins, kind of heads up the admins. She's out of Whitefish, or I take that back. We just moved her to the Kalispell shop. So, we're set up. I think we're in pretty good shape that way. So everybody has help in their shop, but then the marketing director, they know that they can call her, and they call her from all the different shops. And then we just added recently a couple of interns, and that's worked out well.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
They're whizzes at that social media.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, yeah, you got to get it. I've got a crew in front of me right now that is takes care of it all, because it's not my thing. I love it. I think it's super important. I think we need to be a big part of it. I don't know if you've seen our YouTube channel, but we're trying to get YouTube channel. We got podcasts. We got all those sorts of things. You're doing the podcast. That's why it's so nice that we're able to sort of collaborate on these things. I think it'd be fun for us to do this more often. I often thought that we should be doing like panels between different places all over the North America network, right? That'd be kind of fun for us.
We should be doing that,
Yeah.
Andrew.
Yeah.
You
Market
should get
updates.
that going and set it up. We do those within our own DJ, one of our supervising brokers. He has set up a couple of best practices panels.
Yes.
And, we did one just recently about how to help your buyer's offer be accepted when they're competing with 10 other offers. And so usually what we do is we pick out a few people that have done a good job in one of those areas, and or in whatever that topic is, and we have them on the panel and then invite everybody to tune in. And we've had good success with that. You should do that.
We should do that. I think Anthony was talking about doing something similar. So we'll have to put a little bit more pressure on him. It'd be great if head office sort of had us all sort of like they could choose who they want to talk to at different times to mix it up. I think it'd be pretty fun, wouldn't it? What you just brought something up that I wanted to bring, and now I've lost it. I think I've lost my train of thought is what's happened here, unfortunately. But I know there was something I was just going to bring up. The multiple offers. So what's really interesting about that, Dawn, is we've been doing multiple offers or had like a crazy market in Vancouver for as long as I've been in this business. And so we have tricks and different things that people do. Now, I'm sure there's different legalities between the contracts that you write and the contracts that we write. But I did a podcast, the last one that we did, and we talked about how to give your sellers or buyers advantages in those situations. And I got calls from other people in our network that wanted to talk to us about how we're doing it in Vancouver so that they could take it into their market, which I think is a really interesting thing. Like just to share ideas, right? Yeah, because I think it's a really good thing. I mean, it doesn't always work the same way because we have a different process, but just to hear what certain people do to give advantages or how they present or how they do things, that's like a huge value add to one another and how we could share our information. So that was another kind of, especially since it seems like almost every market in the North America right now is dealing with, market, like multiples. We are here too in Vancouver. I mean, it's chaotic is what it is. And so people are trying to find that next advantage.
It's hard. And the thing that's really hard for me is, I just went to a listing appointment today for a really beautiful home that I'm super excited to get going. And they were asking about, the biggest thing right now is they're like, well, here's the problem. We're going to sell our house for a top dollar, but where do we go?
Yeah, where do we go? Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I wish I would have invested in Airstream because I probably could be selling a few of these right now. I'm like, I don't know.
That's a really good point. Yeah. And you gotta decide if you're gonna buy first or sell first. That's kind of when you're in a hot market. And then also the hard
part is with some of these buyers when we're getting them into these properties, and I know they're paying more than I probably would be comfortable with, but it's what they want to do. And I just tell them right up front, like, listen, I don't know what's happening next, because that's what everybody will like. What do you think is going to happen? I don't know. Like, there's no way for us to know right now. The crystal balls are not working.
No. Well, we're not dealing with something that anybody's dealt with before.
That's right. And so I tell them right up front, I just want you to know that in 3 years, if you decide to sell, I don't know that I'll be able to get you your money back out. I don't know what's going to happen. So
Yeah, and you know what, you need to give those warnings. If there's one thing I can tell you from our experience here in Vancouver is that you have to provide the information to the client, and it's realtors advise, clients decide. That's kind of how it works, right? And so make sure that your advice is documented so that in a few years, because their memories are going to be lost unless the market keeps going up. Which I think, I mean, in Montana, from kind of an outsider's point of view, I think you're pretty safe under the new conditions that we're going to be moving forward into. You know, I really do. As long as it all depends on how the the state decides they want this to go. In our case, our province started putting down regulations on taxes and you know, trying to basically keep people from buying here because the price was going up and we were pricing out the locals, which again puts me right back to the Yellowstone conversation, which is exactly what the whole show is about, right? It's like they don't want to change a way of life. They don't want to build a city in a beautiful area. They want to keep it to themselves, right? And so it's really just a matter of, you know, if Montana decides that they want to bring people in and develop, well, they probably have a good opportunity to sell that stuff right now, I would imagine.
And we've even had like weird, you know, I mean, every now and then I get, you know, some hate mail and, you know, stop selling our state to all these outside rich pigs, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, come on, seriously, like that's not how it works. They're coming regardless of whether I'm the one selling it or not. Like they're, you know, and that's just how the world works. Like that's progress. And we're in America, they have the option to move here if they want to. Like it's.
And you know what? Those people usually bring in a value as well. You know, when they bring in, there can be for economy, for growth. If their children grow up in Montana, then they're going to be, you know, have opportunities. We say that all the time about, you know, immigration into Vancouver. People always talk about is driving prices up. I say, no, it's building the city. I mean, this is what we were built on to start with. And this is our future. Like the kids of the people who are buying here right now is the future of our city because they're the ones who are going to be investing it.
And they're using more services.
Yeah,
they're eating at restaurants. They're buying groceries. They're hiring contractors. Like they're creating new jobs. Yeah, I don't have a lot of patience for that whole mindset.
But people are protective as well, which I kind of understand too. But you know, everybody has their right, and if they're into the market, then they're in the market, and they're usually okay with it. It's the people who aren't in the market that get upset by it because they feel like they'll never get the chance, right? Which I sort of understand. I totally lost track of my 10 questions with. So I think I asked you around 10 questions, if not more. But you know, we've taken a lot of time here and all sorts of stuff. Is there anything, Dawn, that you wanted to kind of finish up on, or is there anything you want to do? I really appreciate having you on. I feel like we could go on for hours. Please, fire away.
I have one for you. I just wanted to talk. It's something I'm very interested in, and so I just want to get your input. What are your thoughts about UFOs?
Yes. Well, I think that they are very much real, and they are most likely in Montana somewhere. That's my guess. They're going to land in the open spaces in Montana. I don't have a good answer for that one. I believe that there's something else out there. I do believe there's got to be. There's just got to be. I can't figure out how on earth we could be the only ones. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, really, when you think about it. Now, are they close or are they on our planet? No, I don't think that they're necessarily here, but I do believe that one day we'll find them or they'll find us. That's what I think.
Well, I think they probably already know about us. We just haven't. And I actually think that there's probably someone in our world that does know about them, but they just
maybe
haven't. Yeah, they haven't really released it.
And
then
well, that's the Area 51, isn't it?
Yeah, that's that.
Isn't that what Area 51 is? Yeah.
That. Also, another quick question, and we haven't ever talked about this before, but have you ever seen a ghost?
Okay, I'll tell you a story about this. So personally, have I not physically seen one? No. My mother, we lived in an old house when I was a teenager, and she sold the house. And a couple of weeks after we sold the house, the new owners called and were yelling at her on the phone. And my mom's like, no, they're just testing you. Don't worry. It's no big deal, all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, whoa, what is going on? What are you talking about? And my mom says, the spirits in the house are on their case. And I said, well, what do you mean spirits in the house, Mom? What are you talking about? And she's like, well, didn't you always feel that there were spirits in the house? And I'm like, yeah, as a kid, I thought I was just a scaredy cat that didn't want to go into the basement, but I totally always felt like there was people in the house. Anyway, so these people called and they were yelling at my mom because they asked her the question because they were worried about something like that. And my mom said, yes, but they're friendly. And unfortunately, they were waking up in the middle of the night, and there was loud music playing, and pots were banging, things were coming out of the cabinets, all sorts of stuff. Now, did I witness it? No, I didn't. But my mom actually went to the house apparently afterwards to try to help settle down the spirits within the house. So there you go.
They were just mad.
So do I
They were mad
believe?
that you
I
guys
believe.
left. They're mad that you
I guess
guys
so. They were just
left.
testing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently my mom said when we moved in that she felt like they tested her when they moved in too. I just don't know anything about it because she didn't share it with me. But there you go. So
My cousin that lives in Vancouver, they lived in a house. This was a story I forgot about until you just told that. They lived in a house that they like in the front entry, they would leave all their shoes, like in the front entry. And they would get up in the morning, like more than once this happened. They would get, I'm going to have to ask my mom to remind me of this story, but they would get up in the morning and the shoes would be all strewn throughout the house. And so they moved out, and I think cupboards opening and other things that they probably weren't all that excited about. So they moved out of the house, and then the same thing started happening to the neighbor.
I totally 100% believe in spirits and stuff like that.
Do you have to disclose that in Canada? Do you have to disclose if there's spirits or not?
If you believe that the stigma is important to the purchaser, i.e. if a purchaser comes in and makes a comment and asks the question, then you would have to disclose it. But if they don't bring it up as a concern, then you don't have to bring it to their attention. Does that make sense?
So we don't have to disclose that in Montana.
Yeah, no, you would if you were asked directly and you thought that that was the case. There's one really famous house in Vancouver that's got all sorts of crazy stories, and it was just sold recently to be put a development on it. And I'll tell you what, I will not be buying in that development because I believe in those stories. Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's nothing, but there's some pretty crazy stories about what's happened in the house, and it includes people moving in and then their luggage and all being packed and on the lawn after like their first night, like repacked and on the lawn. That's the story. If you read up, if you go online, I think there's a Van City Buzz, I think it's name of a site that we have, and they had top most haunted houses in Vancouver. I remember it, and it was number 1. And I've heard a ton of stories about this house.
I'm actually gonna. So if I Google that, I'll find it.
I think so. Yeah. Look at most haunted houses in Vancouver, and I bet you find it. It's on. I don't want to say where it is, but you'll see it.
Great.
Yeah.
That was really my kind of.
Those are your
into
questions?
that stuff right now. Yeah, those are mostly. My
Why?
questions.
Why are you into it? Are you dealing with something?
No, just interested in kind of the whole other.
The
tell
other
you what
realm.
I've been really into lately is manifesting. Like I am truly making magical things happen.
That's awesome. I believe in that 100%. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Go for
It's
it.
been good.
You can do it. So manifest your win coming up in a couple of weeks. Your big
That
win.
decision's already made. I might be too late trying to manifest that. I should have thought about that earlier in the year.
Oh, that's a good point. It's been made. But you may have already manifested it enough. I still think it's yours to lose. Let's put it that way.
That is so much better. I appreciate the vote of confidence. And if we do win,
Yeah.
I'm going to call you.
Oh, do. I want to FaceTime your group and give them a big congratulations as
Did you get
a
to keep
previous.
So do you get to keep the cup in your store? You get to keep it in your store?
You'll get the real cup for a year, and then you got to give it back for the next year, and then they give you a little mock one. So we have a little cup that sits in our office with all the fun trophies that we've won through Engel Volkers. I don't think I've ever been so honored in my whole life than I have been with Engel Volkers, which is just outstanding because we don't really feel like we try it. Like that's not our goal to win these things. It's just to be good. And then we get all these great accolades, and it's quite fun. And it feels really good when you're doing it amongst peers you really respect, you know?
Yeah. And I think that that is one thing that I will say about the previous brokerages that I was at is they didn't spend much time rewarding. And I think that it is important. I mean, I think, as commission salespeople, like we work so hard, and I think it's so nice to be acknowledged. So we make a big deal out of that. We really do. We even have some incentives. Like if you hit your goal, it kind of changes the structure of your situation for the next year.
Which is great. We do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
It's important.
Yeah, it is. I couldn't agree more, especially with how hard people work. And speaking of which, when I was talking, I still can't get over how many things you're doing at once. So congratulations on being not only successful at every little category of everything that you're doing, but I don't think I got the answer to how you do it. You said you have a great team, but as one person, it's got to be a lot of things on your back, I would imagine. And I think you do it really, really well. So congratulations. I think it's really cool to watch.
That's so nice of you to say. And I am
you're
trying to
welcome.
kind of delegate more. We're kind of always looking at ways to kind of restructure. And again, I wouldn't be able to do it. We're in a situation now where truly, if I don't have appointments for a day, like I can just stay home and work.
It's true. It helps, doesn't it?
Sometimes I have to do that. Sometimes I have to just check out because I get really grouchy sometimes. So
secret. That's your secret. You can keep that. We all get grumpy sometimes. That's just part of it. But I've never seen it necessarily. Let's put it that way. So as a colleague and somebody who gets to see you on a semi-regular basis at events and stuff like that, you've always been extremely pleasant.
Meltdown.
Not yet. No. But if you ever do have one and you really need to talk, you can always call me. I'd be happy to be on the other end and listen, and got good ears. I'm happy to listen and happy to help anytime. So, and I think that's just kind of like, maybe to sum it up, that's kind of what this company is all about, is like good and bad. We're here for you. Let's get through it. Let's work together. Let's be confident. Let's be great, and let's do good on our people, on our consumers.
Did you have that that sense of camaraderie places that you've been before? Did you have that kind of collaboration?
What's really interesting is my dad owned the company that we worked for when I first started, but he wasn't the owner at the time I started. He had gone away and come back. And when I grew up in the hallways of this company, and it felt like that to me. And I know that's what he had, and what he was trying to create back then was a real excellent family unit of a company that did their job really, really well. And great company, nothing negative to say about it. When we went to Sotheby's, we were a little alone. It wasn't a lot of people there. It wasn't very big in Vancouver. Great marketing company, but I never felt like from a real estate angle that they knew how to support the advisors. And that could be because they were small or in Vancouver or not as established or whatever the case may be. But we created it ourselves. So we had this little 35 group person. We had a satellite office when we were at Sotheby's, and we sort of decided to create that on our own. And that's kind of how Engel and Volkers found us, is that they kind of heard that that's what we had done, and we were sort of independent from the mothership, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain, but we were kind of just doing our own thing and using the brand. I mean, it was a great brand. It's great marketing and all that sort of stuff. And what Engel and Volkers has is like a great brand, great marketing, and then great real estate company, great people, great, like it just like everything piled on top of everything that we liked about where we were before, and then taking it to a whole nother level. And so we certainly are trying to create that, or we have that now thanks to Engel and Volkers, but it was something that we always tried to have. It's like our culture sort of matched perfectly. It was like a good match. We swiped, would it be right or left? Right? I don't know. Never got to do Tinder, but that sort of thing.
That's on Bumble, right?
Bumble? Oh, Bumble. I don't know. Don't get me in trouble. I haven't been on any of those things. Anyway, Dawn, it's probably best time for us to say goodbye for now, but I really appreciate having you on, and I wish you the best of luck coming up, and I will be one of your first calls when you win the cup, and I hope, cross fingers and all that good stuff. And say hi to everybody in your shop and down there in Montana. I fully intend on coming and visiting, and you are always welcome to come up here, as you probably already knew, but please come visit us in Vancouver.
Let's definitely make that happen now that travel restrictions are going to be a little bit easier here shortly. I'm so sorry to hear that your community is on lockdown again, and wish you all the best with that. It'll be short term. You'll get.
I hope so. I think so. I think we're like everybody else. We're on a path. We're just a little slower up here. We don't have as much access to it. I think that's part of the problem. I know everybody's trying to do their best, so we're in a good spot. Let's put it that way. Generally, except for unfortunately, the numbers have grown, and so we got to put a stop to it. So it is what it is. Everybody's dealing with it, and real estate market's still hot though. That hasn't really seemed to stop anything there. So, in any case. It was so awesome to have you on. You are the first virtual sort of back and forth, which is kind of fun. I hope the listeners kind of enjoyed it. And we'll do it again anytime.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you for watching today's episode. For more video content, please like, comment, and subscribe below. We'll see you later.